everyone. This is Emmanuel Lyson with another edition of Financial Breakthrough Academy. We want to continue from our last session here. We've been talking about college financial planning, and we want to continue. I trust you've had a wonderful day. So let us get on it. We'll be doing the second part of this session, financial planning for colleges. In other words, college planning that we all perhaps may be dealing with. If you have a child or you have a grandchild that may be heading to college, there are some few tips we can give for college financial planning. Let's go back to scripture we read yesterday, and from Proverbs 22, it tells us, verse 6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. It is our primary responsibility as parents to train our children. We have the primary responsibility to equip them, train them, help them to nurture them into young adulthood and final adulthood so they can be able to succeed in their lives. Nonetheless, in the process of their training, we may collaborate with other institutions, colleges, and even churches to help them acquire a few skills along the way. So that is where college education comes into play. So our goal here is to help enlighten us, give us some information what we could be expecting when it comes to college financial planning. Okay. So let's look at a quick review from our last session on college financial planning, the part one that we talked about. During the first session, we discussed a few things, and I want to just briefly go over them. Mainly the factors to consider when choosing a college. What factors should we consider when we are trying to choose a college? We mentioned about the admission itself, what kind of admission requirements is there that we have to take into consideration depending on the school and the kind of applications that comes to that kind of school, so we can make sure our child is able to get in the school that they desire. We talk about costs. Most schools have different cost range depending on whether it's a private institution or it's a public college. The cost can be anywhere between $10, $20, all the way to $50,000 or more. And we have a report available to give to as many people who want to read them to make decisions on those. We also mentioned some of the academics of a particular college. What kind of academic program is offered that will be suitable to your child? You want to consider the kind of academic program that is being offered that may be very, I would say, suited to your child's career and the academic goals overall. We mentioned that the schools themselves may have a kind of a personality of their own. Things like what kind of city they may be in, and the kind of clubs or sports or whatever else that makes up the school's personality. Sometimes some schools are religious in nature, so depending on the kind of I would say personality that the school has and how it fits in your child's own desires, you may want to now consider what kind of school that you want to choose for your child. We also mentioned the issue of location. Location being a critical element when we are trying to choose a college. Some of us want our kids to be very close to us in state. In fact, some of us want to be very close in town and just be able to commute from the house to school. Others don't mind kids going out of town for college. I remember growing up, most of our colleges back in Africa were in very limited locations, so we all literally did what we call boarding, whereby you go a whole 3 months or so, you just take all your stuff and go and stay on campus. And it's also similar in this part of the world. So location may factor into it. Sometimes the location may be a matter of whether you want a small town school or big town school. It just depends on what you are looking for. Okay, so these are the 5 main factors that we talked about that can influence how you choose a school: the admission, the cost, the academics, the personality of the school, and the location. We have a whole report that we can be able to send out for you. If you can inbox us, contact us, we'll be happy to send you that report in that order. So that was when we discussed the various factors in choosing a college. Now, in the second session here, we want to look at areas of paying for college, some things to look at when we want to pay for college. All right. So let's get into some of the things we want to discuss. There are several factors, when it comes to paying for college. College is, as we all know, is very, very expensive in the United States, and quite frankly, in a lot of places as well. So we have to plan. We have to work hard to plan in advance, and most of us didn't have opportunity to think about these things way in advance to plan for our children's college. Again, not every child may necessarily want to pursue a college education, but if they do, it'd be a good thing to plan for it in the area of finance. So here are some things we can look at. Number one is on applying for aid. Most of this content is derived from a report that is given from advisors, their college, paying for college report that again is available for anyone who would like to get more information and read through after the session to dissect and see what to do for their own child or grandchild. So applying for financial aid is a critical element. In the process, we all have to be cognizant of the need to have our student fill up the FAFSA application form, the free application federal aid student aid form. It's a good idea. It doesn't matter whether you think you will use up the various aid available or not. There's nothing wrong in saving as much as you can when paying for college. So that is something that students must be aware of. There's a student aid report that is available that you can use to calculate the various contributions that may be available for a family. And looking at your financial aid profile, it all comes into play. So the first thing is to think about applying for the financial aid. Okay, as the earlier we think about it, the better it will be for us. There are various eligibility criteria based on a family's financial need that will determine whether one gets or what amount you get for the aid. Again, no matter your personal financial status, it's not an issue of whether you qualify or not. You just want to apply because you may be surprised what you could get, even if you are a very high earner as a family. So take a look at it and apply. Now, the second element there is the federal financial aid itself. There are several of them. We have the federal Pell Grants, that most of you may be aware of. There's the federal Supplementary Education Opportunity Grants. There is the federal Perkins loans, and a few others. The federal student loans as well, which are mostly subsidized type of loans, and we have the work study programs as well. So again, there are a few options when it comes to the federal financial aid itself, whether it's a grant, the loans or whatever, work related program that may help to fund education. We want to explore all the options available to us. So that's the second element in paying for the college. We also have the other financial aid programs that could be of a great benefit. It includes some state programs. Some states have specific programs that may be of a need for you to access. Obviously, every state is different, and there will be various eligibility criteria to look into to be able to see whether your child will qualify. Some institutional aid programs are also available at a state level and maybe sometimes even at a federal level to supplement these kinds of aids. Now, we also have military aid programs. That's something to consider for some families if you want to look into military aid programs as one of the categories in the financial aid program for paying for college. And we have what we call the private scholarships. The private scholarships are also available under the other financial aid programs that you can tap into. So these are some various aspects of the other eight that we may look into funding or paying for college. The fourth aspect is the tax advantage strategies. This is something that many of us may not have yet been exposed to, but there are several tax advantage strategies that could be of a great benefit. And if we explore it early, it could be of a great benefit. It includes things like educational tax credit. It could include interest deductions on educational loans when we have them, tuitions and fee deductions, depending on the tax code at the moment, what degree is allowed by the government or not. The exclusions of U.S. bond interest rate, and there are all kinds of other type of opportunities that could be of a great benefit. You could also have some withdrawals from traditional IRAs before age 59 and a half, where to be exempt from penalties if it's for qualified educational expenses. So when it comes to tax advantage programs, there are options there, but you need to talk to your financial professional and sit down and look at what may be of great value to you. Now, on the list, last of on the list is what we call the other approaches. Now, there are several other approaches that we can look into when we're trying to fund college education. Some of them may include home equity loans as an option. If as parents we have a home, if in fact, if possible, it could be one of the last options you look into, where you take a home equity loan. Again, it's important to look at your overall financial status, your financial situation, to see whether it's a good fit for your family or not. And depending on the circumstance around it, it may sometimes even be deductible on the interest side of it. So that is one way to look at using much more other unconventional approaches. Something like the cash value in a life insurance policy could be another way to be able to fund. If you've held up a good life insurance policy over a long period of time, which is a cash value kind, you may be able to access the cash in those policies to fund a college education if it makes sense from your overall financial plan perspective. Well, there may be situations where it may be necessary to borrow from a qualified plan. It could be, I would say, one of the last resort that you want to, because that may be something you're using to fund your own retirement and you don't want to get into that at all. There may be much more better options when you've exhausted all of them before coming to that kind of option. But however, some people may decide to skip a year just to save up, or do other things to make it much more convenient. A simple approach would be just living in the house and commuting back and forth from school in much more closer college, so you can cut down on some of the cost of boarding and other fees associated with being out of the house. Okay, so that could be one creative way where the need arises. Another way would be simply choosing a lower cost school. Again, we are looking at other approaches. It's not an all for all. Not everybody may have to use all the strategies, but I mean, going to a very prestigious school does not necessarily guarantees one success. Is that right? So we don't want to go ahead and get ourselves totally indebted just to get the name of a school on our diploma. That's not necessarily the best option. However, depending on your family, depending on your own financial situation, you may choose a lower cost school, at least for the first couple of years, and then save some money from that before you transfer over to another school that you want. So again, these are some options. These are some ways we can go about funding or paying for college. We have the full report available. If you contact us, we'll be happy to send over the paying for college report that you can read through extensively and make some decisions for your family. There are several references and resources from the College Board, the U.S. Department of Education, and other places that you can read through to help you make the necessary change you need now for the future. If your kids are not yet ready to go to college, that's an excellent place to be. You will be perhaps at the best place now, whereby you are not pressured to make a decision. That's a very good time to be able to plan. And I believe that that's the most valuable portion of this presentation, that we are able to sit you down, look at your various options, and see how you can start building that savings. You'll be surprised. $100, $200 a month could grow, compound over time, that you can be able to access when time is up to help fund your child's college at the appropriate moment. So that is what we have for the 5 types of sources or factors or key factors to consider when we are trying to pay for college. Whether we are applying for federal aid, the federal federal aids, other financial aids available, tax advantage strategies, or simply other type of approaches that we could use in making sure we are paying for our college education for our kids. With that said, let's take a quick look at one of the graphs, couple of graphs we shared yesterday. Now, the average costs of college education is pretty steep, all the way to perhaps almost $50,000 or more, depending whether you are going to a private institution, a private 4-year college on campus, or you are doing a public 4-year on campus or out of state. It all depends which kind of school you are choosing for your child. That will influence the cost. So you need to sit down and figure out, is a cost benefit analysis very, very important for you to do. Now, we all know that education is an investment. It's an important investment that may not necessarily be a waste whatsoever. Now, depending on your situation, you want to sit down and look at what options may work best for you, even as you plan for your child's education. With that said, let's look at another slide here that gives us some overview of the median earnings for most people, that get out of college, and depending on their, I would say, race and the background, the potential earnings, as on the screen you see here, it all varies depending on the median earnings and the kind of college, whether it's a 4-year, a bachelor's degree that they took. It will detect, most often research shows that the higher we go in our education, and education is not necessarily just the classroom style or formal. We all have to be lifelong learners. Is that right? So yeah, lifelong learning is key. However, we know the structure that has been put in place enables most families, most people to be able to be disciplined in acquiring the necessary skills and knowledge they need to succeed in life. So that's an overview of some of the potential earnings depending on the earning capacity, the education level, and the background that a family may have. With that said, again, we are always sharing the ability to come over to communities, to churches, to associations, to share some of this knowledge in depth and customized information for the community to help us build a strong community for finance for ourselves. So we're always available to share and to talk to your group, to your community, and help show how these things can be of a great value as we plan. It's all about starting early. If we start early, then we are more likely to be able to save up more and enjoy the benefits thereof. So before I wrap up, I want to show quickly a short clip that will give us a little bit of insight on college savings and how that might work as well. Enjoy.
College costs money, and lots of it. Many schools cost over $50,000 a year. You wonder how you'll afford it. The best way to pay for college is to know all your funding options. No matter how old your kids are, start saving now. Over time, even modest savings can pack a punch. Investing as little as $200 a month for 18 years could yield $100,000. Talk with financial professionals to understand college funding strategies. Here are some ideas you should know about. A 529 is an education savings plan that offers you attractive tax advantages. Your investments grow tax-deferred, and withdrawals are tax-free when used to pay for college expenses. Financial aid. Always fill out the free application for student federal aid form. Even if you don't think you'll qualify, you may be pleasantly surprised. There are government-backed, low-interest loan programs that many parents use to defer tuition costs. National grants. Options include Pell Grants, Academic Competitiveness Grants, and National Smart Grants. Your child's guidance counselor can help you find others. Increase your odds. Make sure your child applies to several schools. The more places they're accepted, the better chance you'll have of receiving financial aid. Service in exchange for tuition. AmeriCorps, Peace Corps, National Health Services Corps, and ROTC programs offer college money in exchange for a service commitment after graduation. Live at home. Don't rule out starting at a low-cost community college, then transferring to a 4-year college for the final 2 years. This way, you can save money on tuition and room and board. College education is expensive, but it's one of the best investments you can make in your child's future success. College graduates earn 84% more in their lifetime than those who don't go to college. Start saving now so you can put your children on the right road to success.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that quick clip that gives you some insight in what it takes to be able to have the college savings you need for yourself, your family, your child, making sure that your child is fully ready for the workplace after they are done with college. So that was our session for today, a second part of our series on college financial planning, helping us to expose some of the ideas and share some of the concepts that will enable us to be prepared financially for our children's college education. I want to leave you here today, and we'll be back the next time with some more content, building a community that is strong, knowledgeable, and able to break through financially. Have a wonderful rest of your day.